Hello, everybody. Welcome to Tuesday. The S&P 500 was down 1.26% today. Kind of two main catalysts that caused that today. Number one, Lael Brainard was testifying in front of Congress. They are working on nominating her or confirming her nomination for vice chairman at the Federal Reserve. And so she was talking very aggressively about fighting inflation, letting money come off of their balance sheet at a little faster rate than some of the things that I'd heard before. You could see the stock market responding negatively during her testimony. And so that was one piece there. And really, we have to take a look at carefully how somebody is talking in front of Congress might be different than what they actually end up doing. Congress right now is concerned about inflation. Every voter is affected by inflation. Not every voter is affected by the stock market coming down. And so when they're in front of Congress, they have been very, very aggressive in their wordings and what have you. And again, we'll have to wait and see what happens with the Federal Reserve. The other catalyst was these sanctions that they're going to be announcing tomorrow. Another group of sanctions on Russia, as specifically, it looks like they want to cut back on some of the purchase of energy from Russia. Coal seems to be one of the ones they're talking about the most to try to affect Russia's cash flow from those areas. But one of the problems, of course, is that it does have the potential for raising the cost of energy and even making some problems for producing things, especially in places like Germany, which has such a heavy reliance upon coal and gas and oil from Russia. And so you're going to see maybe some slowing that happens from these increased sanctions. We're already seeing the gross domestic product projections for these different countries coming down, more so in Europe, but a little bit here in the US. And so that's kind of a 1-2 punch today, because you have the Federal Reserve talking about getting more aggressive, which, the market has to respond to. And then you have sanctions that are getting more aggressive, which can also slow down the economy. Both groups are trying to do the same thing. The fear is the Federal Reserve gets over carried away and doesn't really, do what they need to do, and they kick us into a recession because they overraise rates to try to slow down the economy that's already slowing down because of all this situation in Russia, Ukraine. So it's going to make it more difficult for the Federal Reserve. I do think we have to give the Federal Reserve some, leeway here and see what they actually do and see how they respond. How somebody testifies in front of Congress when they're trying to get confirmed for a job may or may not be what they end up doing. So we'll have to play that out. The other thing I think is really important here is that the U.S. is much less impacted by these sanctions than what's happening in Europe. And we don't have a huge reliance upon Russian sales or purchasing Russian energy, for example. And so I still think that we're going to see more and more money being focused worldwide into the U.S. market. I mean, that's been happening anyway, in my opinion. If you look at the total rates of return, since the bottom of the pandemic to now for the U.S. market versus the overall global market outside the U.S., a pretty stunning differential. I think this is going to push that a little bit further. So it might be more cash flow coming in and purchasing here in the U.S. Because of that sanctions situation, and the impact is less here. So we'll see how that plays out, but that seems to be happening so far. I would say that might be part of the catalyst for what is going on in this run-up that we have had as far as that goes. Having a down day like today is no big deal. This is still part of that dip and that grind that we're going to go through that I was talking about really a week and a half ago. Get that run up and it kind of goes down and sits sideways. And this is exactly what we're doing right now. You build this base, see if it holds up. And if we don't go back down all the way to the bottom, and we might be shooting back up on that next leg up. So this is still part of that process. Could take a while for it to play out. Let's see what happens. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Thank you very much.